Hey y'all, it's Bailey Ray, and you are listening to the Garrett Smith Podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. It is episode 43, and this week's guest is a recent semifinalist from NBC's The Voice and an awesome singer out of Oklahoma. Please welcome Bailey Ray. Bailey, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing really well. I like to start all these episodes by talking about how I discovered artists, and I think a lot of folks will be like, oh yeah, I saw her on The Voice. And like my little braggy moment is you and I actually followed each other on social media right before The Voice happened. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I didn't really even watch the show because I don't get cable. I don't really watch much TV, but I will go ahead and let you know that I did check in to see each week. It's like, okay, is Bailey still in there? Because I actually know who this is. So
awesome. Well, thank you.
For sure. Well, and you did an awesome job, and we'll jump to that in a second. But I'm so behind on trends. I always hear about cool stuff happening like a year after it's cool. So to say, hey, I was following her before The Voice, I can just kind of have my little brag moment. So
that's awesome.
Well, tell us kind of what you've been up to lately, you know, since The Voice and kind of coming out of COVID and jumpstarting these performances and everything.
You know, I just got back, I guess it was in December, so I'm trying to stay busy right now, still trying to get my name out as much as I can, and, you know, I've had a few gigs, you know, during the weekends, since I've been back, and, May's pretty slow, but as soon as we hit June, it's going to be full send.
That's great. So you're from Oklahoma. Where in Oklahoma? Like which part?
I'm actually from Southeast Oklahoma. You know, most people know Durant, Oklahoma is the town with the Choctaw Casino in it. But I actually live 15 miles east of there.
Oh, okay.
Actually southeast. I always get my directions wrong.
Well, it's funny. I grew up in Amarillo, and people are always like, oh, it's practically in Oklahoma, right? I'm like, well, actually, no. We were like dead middle of the panhandle, so you still had to drive 2 hours.
I'm about 25 minutes from to the Texas border.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
Yeah, I know.
We'll
Texas is my second home for sure.
Well, it's kind of funny. I was actually listening last night to an interview with Cody Canada and Jeremy Plato, and they were talking about how it's like, look how many quote Texas country artists are really from Oklahoma. We do share a lot of talent.
Yes, it's awesome.
Well, so tell us kind of like some projects you've got going on, things you've been working on.
Yeah. I mean, you know, gig-wise, I was just at Gillies a few weeks ago, which was super cool. It was in Choctaw Casino. That was actually my first time there, which was super, super cool, and we had a great crowd. But otherwise, you know, I had just released Gypsy Cowboy. I was super excited about it, still am. The numbers have been really, really good. I'm super excited. And I'm hoping to get back in the studio, like, really, really soon to get the next one released. So I'm super excited about that, too.
Well, this is a perfect segue because I had written down to play that song here in a second, but when you put it out and I was listening to it, it's interesting when sometimes, whether it's people have been on a TV show or have gone to Nashville a few times, sometimes the sound becomes less country and it's more pop, but yours it's good country sound while staying modern. Like you did a really good balance at that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Well, I am going to kick things off here by playing Gypsy Cowboy here on the episode.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
See them from my backyard. The pace is fast. Let's take it slow. Where there's concrete, nothing grows. Oh, I'd rather be somewhere wild and free. Hey, Gypsy Cowboy, come and find me, so I can put these fences behind me. Hey, Gypsy Cowboy, life's got me down. Wanna wake up every day in a new town. Different sunrise, same old sky, nothing but you by my side. Oh, I'm ready to ride, Gypsy Cowboy. Gonna leave it all behind. New horizons we will find. Oh, just be mine. Hey, Gypsy Cowboy, come and find me, so I could put these fences behind me. Hey, Gypsy Cowboy, life's got me down. Wanna wake up every day in a new town. Different sunrise, same old sky, nothing but you by my side. Oh, I'm ready to ride, Gypsy Cowboy. Come and find me, Gypsy Cowboy, wild and free.
Gypsy Cowboy. So kind of take us through your story as a musician. I mean, you didn't just wake up one morning and get right to where you are. So tell us kind of what your early influences and kind of what got you started.
Yeah. Well, I actually kind of started in I was really young. I was about 7 years old and I started singing in church. I know a lot of people, have grown up in church, and that's kind of where they got their start. And my mom actually sang in church, and she encouraged me to get up and sing a few songs with her one day. And I loved doing that. I loved holding a microphone and making people feel joy through music, and that's something that I really liked. And then when I was about 13 years old, I joined a vocal studio, and they had what they call Stage Struck, and it's a singing and dancing group, but mostly singing. But they took me to Branson and Nashville and Pigeon Forge, and that's kind of where I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Being under those Branson lights, and I thought it was just super cool. And that's kind of where I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I started trying to do more things on my own, doing more shows on my own. So I actually started in the Opry circuit when I was about the same age, about 13. And you probably know Wiley, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the first Opries that I ever performed was in Wiley, and it was called the Wiley Opry. And I still love all those people, just, still today. But after that, I started getting more acoustic gigs because I learned how to play guitar. It took me a few tries to play the guitar because I was not a fan, and I wanted to play like Dolly Parton with long nails. And that just wasn't happening. So it took me a few tries to get guitar, but as soon as I did, I started playing any acoustic gigs that I could. And one of my first acoustic gigs was the AQHA World Trade Show in Oklahoma City. They have it in November every year, and I thought that was super cool because my dad rodeoed, and I've been around horses all my life, so the AQHA was a really cool place to start my acoustic gigs. And that was probably my first one. And then, I've been working with working in acoustic gigs, and I put a band together, and of course the voice helped, and now here I am.
That's super cool. It's funny you mentioned Wiley. When I grew up, we kind of had this, not a rivalry, but just we really hated this high school from Abilene called Wiley High because they would always knock us out of the playoffs in every sport, every academic event. It was just all of it. Well, I didn't know about Wiley, Texas. So when I went to college, I met somebody that's like, yeah, I went to Wiley High. And I'm kind of like, screw you. They're like, why? And I didn't realize, different Wiley.
Different Wiley. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well,
That's hilarious.
it's interesting. I mean, guitar, some people pick it up immediately and others don't. I still don't have it down, and I've been doing this for however long, but it's really cool that you're able to start doing that from a young age. I mean, you really get a head start and get your network going. And you mentioned Branson. That's a pretty cool place to go perform.
Yes. We played on Clay Cooper, the Haygoods. There were some really cool opportunities that we had with them, as a group. And that's kind of where I knew this is what I wanted to do. I loved, being on stage with the lights and all the audience. And I thought it was super, super cool. And, then I eventually got on The Voice, and it was kind of the same thing, the bright lights, the nerves, the microphone, except we didn't have a crowd. That was the only difference.
Oh, see, I hadn't even thought of that, because I think of a TV show. I don't even think about COVID.
Yeah. We were talking to some of the contestants about it, how they felt not having a crowd. I personally liked it better just because it felt more personal, with the 4 coaches, but a lot of people feed off the crowd's energy. So, it could work both ways, but for me, it was more personal, not having a live audience. We did have an audience. They were just virtual. But I felt it more personal for sure.
I feel like I would be less nervous in that situation now that you mention it, but I don't know if I would perform as well, because sometimes the crowd, like at a gig, and I'm sure you're the exact same way, I look at the faces of the crowd, and if they're looking at me kind of puzzled, or they're just like, well, who is this? Then it's like, oh, I start getting nervous. Maybe I miss a note. But if they're clapping, dancing along, smiling, having a good time, it's like, oh, this is going to be a good show.
Yeah, right.
So, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how nervous did you get first performing? Like, did you meet the judges before you performed in front of them, or was it kind of like that's your intro?
Nope. That was my intro, pretty much. I was actually kind of a weird situation. I was 17 at the time when I first auditioned, and my mom actually got to come out with me to LA since I was still a minor, and she actually ended up with a false positive COVID test, and I got pushed further into the week, later in the week, because of the false positive COVID test. And I think at that point I was just like, you know what, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If it's not, it's not. And I'm okay with both, and I'll just try again. I'm not going to quit trying. But I ended up in probably about a 4-hour time span being up on stage. I went from being in bed taking a nap and to getting up and performing my blind audition song. So
wow.
I think I was probably about a 10, just because I didn't have time to mentally prepare myself. Because we were packed. We were ready to go home, and I was going to try again, and I was not going to quit trying. It's funny how things work out for sure.
So you kind of like just jump into it like that. And then, so how long did it take before you found out, you were advancing and the process got going?
I actually, I auditioned about 2 years ago in Austin. Didn't get a call back, was super disappointed, but I wasn't going to stop trying for sure. And I auditioned in Oklahoma City last March, I guess over a year ago. And I got a call back that I was headed to LA, which was super, super cool. It's kind of funny. The day that I got the call that my high school was not going to be back in session because of COVID, was the day that I got the voice call. So it was kind of like this is going to really suck because you won't get to have your regular senior year, but at the same time, you're going on The Voice, so suck it up.
I don't know. Your senior year sounds like it might have been more fun than mine. I don't.
It was a pretty cool senior year, I'm not going to lie.
That's really cool. How nervous did you get when you started singing? Because it's obviously you mentally prepare yourself, but then to just sit, you see the chairs and you haven't met them, and just to wonder if they're going to turn. Like, what does that do for your nerves?
Well, as soon as I started singing is when John turned. And he was the only coach that had a spot left. Everyone else had already filled their teams, and I was kind of bummed out. I'm not going to lie. I was very nervous because John doesn't usually turn for a country artist, and which I understand. It's he likes to stay in his lane. But I was definitely surprised when he turned around within, I'm not kidding, seconds. of me starting my song.
That's really cool. What was it like meeting them?
It was, I mean, they're just like you would think they would be. They're so personable. They're really easy to talk to. They're super sweet. I wish we had more interaction with them, but I think just because of COVID, that wasn't an option.
Yeah. Well, I am going to throw another song break in here, and I'm
Cool.
going to choose Never Been This Lonely.
Awesome.
Sunrise this morning caught me lying in our bed all alone, and it kept running through my mind of all the nights you never came home. Your heartfelt good mornings like shadows in the dark just disappear. Oh, I've never been this lonely, except when you were here. Put away all our pictures, the ones from days gone by. Even though my heart is broken, still can't find the tears to cry. One thing I'm learning that's helped me overcome my fears is I've never been this lonely, except when you were here. Yes, my heart, it should be broken and shattered in two, but it's hard to shed a tear for someone like you. Someday I may miss you, but for now it's quite clear I've never been this lonely, except when you were here. Yes, my heart, it should be broken, oh, and shattered in two, but it's hard to shed a tear for someone like you. Someday I may miss you, but for now it's quite clear I've never been this lonely, except when you were here. I've never been this lonely, except when you were here.
So, which of your songs would you say have the best backstories?
That's a good question. This one, I'm actually going to tell a story that of a song that hasn't been released yet.
Cool.
It'll probably be one of my next releases. It's called "Can't Make You," and I'm still working on the title right now. But it's actually funny how this song came to be. You know, I had an idea for this song. I had some of it down. I just needed another person's opinion, another person's perspective. and I needed someone else to help me, finish this song. I wasn't getting anywhere, writer's block for sure. And I took it to one of my mentors. His name's Charlie Shear, and I'll talk more about him here in just a minute. But I took it to him, and he couldn't figure it out. We tried, couldn't figure it out. At one point, I was like, I'm just going to have to. I took it to my sister who has no writing abilities, no musical talent at all. She's going to kill me for saying that. But, at this point, I was like, I just need to get this song done. I like where it's going, and I want this song to be finished. And when I got the call for The Voice, when I was out in LA, I actually wrote it with one of my friends that I met through The Voice, which is super, super cool. And I think, and I hope everyone's going to like it, but it took a while to get that dang song done. But now that it's finally done, I'm hoping to get it recorded and get it released to everyone. I hope everyone can relate to it. And I'm excited for everyone to hear it.
Well, when should people be on the lookout for that?
I actually don't have a set date yet. It'll probably be the next one that I'm going to record in the studio. So probably June, July.
I actually asked you a question that I hate answering myself, because it's like people hear something I'm working on, like, hey, when's that going to be out? I'm like, I'm still waiting on tracks from the studio.
I don't know. I just got back. I don't know.
No clue.
That's funny.
Well, I do look forward to hearing that. If you had to pick a song of yours that you say means the most to you, which one would it be?
Kind of going back to Charlie Shear, like I said just a second ago, he's been, a mentor. He is also my guitar teacher.
Oh.
And he was the one who told me to quit because I wasn't gonna play guitar with, Dolly Parton nails on. So when I told him I was coming back, he was kind of scared. But we made it through, and, I play acoustic gigs now, so that's really cool. Anyway, long story short, Charles has been one of my mentors, and he actually had this song, Never Been This Lonely, and he had it, and no one really picked it up, and he played it for me, and I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is a country song. And I think that one probably means the most to me, just because I am so close with the person who wrote it, and it was an honor to record it. It was my very first single, and I was just excited to get something out for sure.
I mean, it's really cool to have that personal connection with, because, sometimes somebody will hear a song and want to do a cover, and it turns out great, but when you actually know the person, that makes it even better.
Right, yeah.
Well,
I agree.
If you could film a music video to any of your songs, which one would you do?
I'll probably do Gypsy Cowboy, just because it's so almost lighthearted in a way, and I think it'd be really cool. To have all the horses and the longhorns in the background, and maybe at a rodeo scene. That'd be really cool. That'd probably be the first one that I'd record for sure.
That was actually going to be my guess, because I was kind of like, this just sounds like it'd be a good music video.
It would. Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun too.
Well, speaking of your songs, let's check another one out, and this one is your pick.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, let's do I'm in Love.
Cool.
Blonde hair and big blue
right, so this one will help me out a little bit. My band's actually playing in Oklahoma for the first time in June.
Oh, cool.
And in fact, personally, like I've been through Oklahoma for flights and stuff, but I don't think I've actually stayed in Oklahoma in probably 11 years. So
Oh, wow.
This one's going to give me a little insight, but what are some of your favorite venues or towns to perform in?
That's a good question. It's so funny. I've only played here once, and I was just talking about it earlier, but Gillies was so much fun. Like, so much fun. That one's probably one of my favorites right now. I play at Old Reds a lot in Tishomingo. And then probably Love and War in Plano. It's always a good crowd. It's always a good time. And, we have a lot of fun.
I've never played Love and War, but it's like a lot of people I follow or I network with in the scene. They all play there. I'm like, sometime I need to go check it out because it seems like a pretty neat place.
Awesome. It's just a really, really good venue for sure.
Well, I'm sure some of my friends from Dallas, like most of my college roommates and good friends in college, for some reason, they all moved up to Dallas. And they're always like, when are you going to get back up here? I'm like, well, I guess I got to go play up there too soon. So maybe you and I'll have to go do a show together up there at some point.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of projects, things like that, you mentioned you were wanting to get in the studio earlier and record that song. But what are some of the other things you're looking forward to doing here pretty soon?
Yeah, like we said, that's probably my next thing that I'm going to be doing is going back in the studio and getting that song recorded. Hopefully a few more, within the next few months. I'm super excited about those, but I'm just going to be playing wherever I can. And, like I told you earlier, I put a band together not too long ago. And we've been trying to gig everywhere we can during the weekends. So, you can definitely expect to come catch a show sometime. If you're in the Texas, Oklahoma area. Yeah.
For sure. Well, for anyone that hasn't gotten to come see you perform or is just now discovering your music, where would you direct people for social media and just ways to follow your music? I
have an Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff at Bailey Ray or Bailey Ray Music, depending on which one you're on. And then I have a website, BaileyRayMusic.com. All of my upcoming shows, gigs, whatever should be up there, all updated, ready to go. So if you want to come catch a show, they're usually Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas area. So if you're in that area, or if you want to come down, y'all come on.
There you have it. All right. So are you ready for the big three?
I'm ready for that. I think so.
All right. Number one, if you could collaborate with anyone out there, who would it be?
This one would probably be a 2-part.
It usually is.
Yeah. Well, you have to go with Dolly Parton because she's been like my idol ever since I can remember. And then Stoney LaRue. I would definitely want to work with him. He would just be so cool to work with, and I love his music, so I think it'd be really cool.
I've heard Dolly mentioned on here before, I think one time, but nobody has mentioned Stoney yet. That's actually a really good one to list.
Yes. I think he's a great songwriter, so that'd be a lot of fun.
Well, not to age myself here, but, I mentioned I grew up in Amarillo, and at that point, it was long enough ago that, Texas, and people still listen to a lot of Nashville throughout Texas at that point. And it didn't really have the kind of like sound that it does right now. So Texas music and Red Dirt, all that, it was still young-ish. And nobody really played it on the radio except for Ragweed and maybe Jason Boland and Stoney. So where I was living, it was kind of like the Oklahoma sound was just starting to get in there. And with the rest of Texas, that's kind of when Pat Green was running everything and Kevin Fowler was popping up. But yeah, it's kind of surprised me that it's taken this long for someone to mention Stoney. So I'm glad you did.
Yes, that's awesome.
Well, if you could headline any venue, where would you go play?
That's a hard question because I have so many. But probably the first one would be, of course, the Grand Ole Opry. But then, there's places like Billy Bob's, Kane's Ballroom that I would just love to be at. And that's one of my goals for sure. Whether it is the Grand Ole Opry or Billy Bob's, I would just be so grateful to be able to headline. That'd be awesome.
I've watched the YouTube. Well, I think it's like on a playlist or something because I couldn't upload the whole video, but the video of Ragweed playing at Kane's Ballroom. And I mean, they had the thing just packed. There were people on each other's shoulders to make room. I thought, man, it'd be cool to play that place.
Yeah. Kane's Ballroom's awesome for sure.
Well, the grand finale question, what is the funniest or craziest story you can tell from your music career so far?
These are going to be funny, at least I hope they are. I think they're hilarious because if you've ever met me, they're literally just me. I actually auditioned for a different show before The Voice. I won't name any names, but, the whole process was just very strange. I actually auditioned in Waco, and, I get there and I'm wearing shapewear. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but I was wearing shapewear. And so
I've heard worse on the podcast, trust me.
Well, there we go. I went to go to the bathroom. I needed to go to the restroom before I went on, and I could not get my shapewear snapped back. And so it took me about 30 minutes to get my shapewear snapped back, and I actually had my mom come in the bathroom stall and help me snap it back into place. It actually took me longer to do that than to go through the whole audition process.
Wow.
I showed up and they were pretty much like, no, thank you. You're not what we're looking for. And I was like, okay, thank you. I'm glad I spent all that time snapping my shapewear back into place. I appreciate that. Also, I was at a gig a few weeks ago, and this is actually a little strange, but my manager was sitting off to the side, and along with my parents, and they kind of know my looks, like, does it sound okay? Is everyone having a good time, do you think? Like, they just know my looks. And they know exactly what I'm asking just by my face. And so there was a cowboy standing, kind of like below them, I guess. I thought I was looking at them, but I think he thought I was looking at he thought I was looking at him for sure. And then he texted me after. I had no idea who this guy was. He messaged me and he said, if you notice that cowboy, I saw you looking at me the whole entire time. That was me. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that I was not looking at him. And so I went along with it, and it's been great. It's been very awkward, but I didn't have the heart to tell him that I wasn't looking at him the whole entire time. I was just looking at my manager right behind him.
That's great. The kind of like the classic moment where somebody waves, you wave back and realize, oh, your friend was right behind you.
Yeah. Oh, no,
Spider-Man
sorry.
moment.
Not me.
Awesome. Well, we are going to close this thing out with a song, and I'm going to let you pick which one.
Oh, my goodness. Let's do Are You Sure Hank Done It This Way?
Great song. We will close with that one. Bailey, thank you so much for doing the interview, and definitely want to come catch one of your shows sometime soon now that the venues are opening back up. So
please do. That'd be awesome. I'd love to meet you.
Absolutely. Well, you take care. And folks, this has been episode 43 with Bailey Ray.